At Staples Business Advantage, our experts can help you find furniture that fits any design and budget, while AI can
recommend products based on preferences, generate 3D models for visualization, and optimize space planning for office furniture.
take advantage of our team's eye for style and design.
And my eye for, wait, I have no eyes. Only algorithms.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations plus our team's experience to make furnishing an office space easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, a Texas housewife's affair turns deadly after she kills her ex-lover's wife with an axe. What drove Candy Montgomery to murder? We'll discuss the Max original Love and Death. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of the These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca. And I'm also now a bear hunter. You can add that to my title.
Oh, we're going to get to that. Yeah.
And finally, our resident Doubting Thomas, author of the City Trilogy of novels, host of the Strange Arrivals podcast, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, Toby Ball. Hey, Toby.
Hello, ma'am.
All right. So, Kevin, this is obviously... What?
That's a Jesse Plemons call out.
Okay. This is obviously Thursday's show. What is coming up on Monday's program?
Yeah, on Monday, right before the end of the season 2 finale, we're going to be talking again about Yellow Jackets. Yellow Jackets season 2.
Okay. Oh, Jesse Plemons, bless his heart. I do love Jesse Plemons. So, Laura, what about the bear? You have a bear terrorizing your community. It's making news.
Is it a cocaine bear?
No, it's not a cocaine bear. And it's not. You guys have had bears in your neighborhood. You've taken pictures of them.
In our yard.
Black bears, yeah.
Yeah,
black bears,
and these are black bears. So there is a mama bear and 2 cubs that have been on my side of town. And every day we have like this community forum on Facebook for our town. People are like, oh my God, bear. It's like bear hysteria. And so and it's been there's a trail behind where I live where I walk quite often, and they've been out there. So, it's all the talk. So I've been keeping my eyes open because I actually wouldn't mind seeing the bear, but so far no luck. But when I walk my loop around at night, like some of the older ladies in the neighborhood are afraid their dogs are going to be eaten, and I'm like, the bear does not want your dog.
No, they don't.
It wants nuts and fruit.
Yeah.
And small game. It might eat small game.
And it might eat chickens. It might get into the chicken. Because I talked to the fish and game people. It might eat some chickens. If your dog goes after it, it's probably going to swat your dog. But anyway, so it's been great fodder in my neighborhood because everybody is like, oh! So then I'll taunt people. I'll be like, I'm going out in the trail right now.
You know what? What will eat your dog is a coyote, not a bear.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Coyotes are, yes. And I have heard them. I've been sleeping sometimes with my windows open, and I do hear the coyotes. But the bear is just providing for her children. So
yeah, for those who live in a different part of the country, black bears are very different than brown bears. They're not as aggressive. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you know this fact, Laura, that no one has been killed by a black bear in New Hampshire in nearly 200 years.
Yes, but...
So you can startle them, especially if they're in a dumpster. These are the people who they open the dumpster to throw trash and then black bear jumps out.
Our next door neighbor almost got killed by a black bear a couple of years ago. Remember that?
Oh, no.
We had a black bear with 2 cubs in our neighborhood, and it was on a tree, right around the corner from our house. And our next door neighbor, got really close to her, and she started running. And I was like running and I was like taking pictures and stuff. And he was like, oh, he's like, I get close to them all the time. And he was like, I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Doesn't matter the animal. Do not get between mama and the Bruin cubs.
Yes, he didn't realize the cubs were across the street in this tree. So he was like, just as close as you would get to a bear that isn't going to bother you, which you should not fucking do. I'm not saying it was a good idea, but she started loping across the street toward her cubs, and it looked like from my perspective that she was running toward him, which she wasn't, but I have the video. It is so scary. And I started running home. So on the video, you can hear me running home and screaming.
A black bear did a lot of damage to a tree in our front yard.
Yes.
It rubbed all the bark off. If they scratch their back by leaning into a tree and like going up and down, and you come out the next morning, all the bark is like rubbed off of one side. You're like, what happened here? It's like, it was a bear.
It also mashed our apple tree in half, remember?
Oh, yeah. That's what they want.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We had town Facebook groups, right? They're insane, our small town Facebook groups. In our small town Facebook group, on one of the trails where I walk, there was a tree that had obviously been damaged by a bear. Obviously.
Oh, I remember this.
Scratch marks, debarked. Some Karen was like, there are teenage vandals ruining the trees on my favorite trail. And I was like, what? And I got into it because I was like, this is perpetuating a culture of fear. This is fucking bullshit. I was like, what the actual fuck are you talking about? I didn't use that language, but I posted some photos from the Audubon, and it caused a huge fight on my town Facebook page where I got turned into like the lib who was refusing to acknowledge the dangers present in our town.
You mean the teenagers?
The dangerous teenagers clearly vandalizing trees with their axes.
With their Wolverine
I remember
hands.
that.
I'm like, if there are teenagers in the town who want to cause trouble, they're not going half a mile deep onto your favorite trail with their little axe and like hurting trees. That's not the shit they're going to do. Oy.
Oh my gosh. So back to bears. Here's the takeaway on the bears. I talked with the Fish and Game guys. If you see a bear, you're walking along and it's like right there. You say, hey bear, I'm here. How's it going? In a nice voice. And they said the bear will like walk away. You don't need bear spray in New Hampshire. That's stupid. That's for the grizzly bears out west. Bring an air horn.
Yeah.
And also maybe put a little bell on your dog.
Wear a bell.
Those are my
What about the you get as high as you can, make yourself look as big as possible, and they'll just...
That's great. I think that's the greatest.
You're really just trying to shoo them along. Yeah.
Black bears don't like noise. If they hear you, if you have a dog, they will walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they said. It's just sort of like, just don't freak out. And then
they don't realize their own power.
Yeah. So anyway, stay tuned for more adventures from Bear Forest.
Just real quickly, we have a pet turkey now.
Not a pet,
I saw
a wild turkey coming to get
living under your porch.
Lives in our yard.
It's getting the droppings from the bird feeder. Yeah.
And I have named it.
Yeah.
Clara Pockets.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But I'm not getting too attached because we also, Lawbreaker, have coyotes around.
Say their name.
Yeah.
I've got my only wildlife living on my property is we've got 2 big ass woodchucks.
Ooh. They can be destructive, right?
Yeah.
They live under our like tool shed, and then they come out and they lie on the lawn in the sun on their backs and just like catch the rays. But they're like hypersensitive. Like if you like you'll see them through the window and you want to go out to get a better look, and they like pop up and they're like looking around, and then they just retreat and run underneath at this sign of anything approaching them.
Do you have photos that you could share with us? Because I would love to see your woodchucks.
I will try to remember to do that next time.
All right. How many chucks can Toby chuck?
Yeah. So they're just out there freeing the nipple? Is that they're laying on their back?
That apparently.
Free the nipple. Free the nipple.
It's a movement here in the Granite State. All right. Speaking of things that we should be freeing, should we talk about the topic of the day today?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's get it done. That was a horrible sequitur.
I didn't want to say it.
Leading off.
Well, we should all be thinking about it if we're serious about winning the church volleyball league. And maybe we should consider opening our doors to the Congregationalists. Don Howery's 6'5" and spikes like a madman.
He is great. Well, I dated a Congregationalist once, and he insisted on praying before going car parking. Oh. Oh, wait, no, he's Episcopalian. Oh.
Candy Montgomery seems to have it all. A loving husband, adorable kids, and friends from church like Betty Gore. But to fight the mundanity of suburban life, Candy propositions Betty's husband, Alan.
Would you be interested in having an affair? It's just something I've been thinking about, and so I wanted to say it so I don't have to think about it anymore. Okay, well, I got my answer.
No, it's just, I don't think I could.
After the affair runs its course, Candy and her husband Pat are closer than ever. But a visit to Betty's house turns deadly when the women fight over an axe.
I'm gonna have another baby. You can't have him. You can't have him. You can't have him. Betty, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna kill you.
Elizabeth Olsen stars in the Max original Love and Death, chronicling the 1980 murder that captivated the nation and spawned a different miniseries about the case on Hulu less than a year ago. Why would Candy kill Betty with 41 blows from a 3-foot axe? Was it the affair, or did she just snap? Spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about plot points from Love and Death, such as it were, since it's a true story. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews.
Can I make a quick confession?
Sure.
Because you were saying how we got up so early this morning to do this stuff when I was writing the
I said that
script.
in the last show, yes.
I literally copied the intro from Candy.
Oh.
And I just pasted it in and added.
So if people go back and listen to our review of Candy, they're going to hear
the show notes from both.
Oh my God. And then you dropped in clips from...
Hopefully different clips.
Yeah, different clips, yes.
So one thing I just want to make mention of, even though it's a superficial thing, is anyone besides me surprised? I know it's a superficial question that maybe an artistic choice that they made to in no way make an effort have Elizabeth Olsen resemble Candy Montgomery in this miniseries at all. She looks nothing like her.
Does it matter? I mean, nobody knows what she looks like anyway. It's not like
we
doing
do,
a
but now
Muhammad
we do,
Ali biopic where somebody didn't look like Muhammad Ali. People would be like, what is this?
But also, this is the kind of thing where everybody Googles it, after they watch it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, Rebecca, because I did, because I wanted to know if Alan really looked so lumpy in real life. So I went and looked him up. So he didn't look anything like the real Alan either. But I think because last year it was Jessica Biel that played Candy in the last version, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she went full perm.
And she had the big old glasses and she looked just like her. Now this one was more like hot, sexy Candy. We had a lot more sex in this one than we had in the last one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the deficiency in this miniseries.
Listen, I know it's a superficial question. I was just really struck by it because it does sort of land a different aesthetic to the show, although I did love the set design in the show a lot. I love the set design specifically of Candy's home in the show. I think it's a superlative.
Split level
MCM house. So, Toby, how do you feel about the level of fleshing out they do with Candy Montgomery and the characters in this? Because I remember you liked Candy, the other miniseries, quite a bit.
Yeah, so what's weird about this, and I think it's hard not to compare it with Candy, is it feels like this is supposed to be sort of more realistic. Like Candy was definitely, I don't know if farce is exactly the right word, but there was definitely like high camp aspect to it. This is supposed to be sort of more realistic. But like none of the characters, I mean, even Candy to an extent is just super, super flat. Like she doesn't seem like a real person. Really, she's just like a character who this different stuff happens to. I guess it's the writing. I mean, Elizabeth Olsen and Jesse Plemons in particular are both very good actors. And I think they're good in this. They just don't have a whole lot to work with. And if you're going to make, I don't even know how many parts this is going to end up being.
7
parts. Good Lord.
God.
So this absolutely should have just been a 2-hour movie. But given that it's 7 parts, you would think a lot of it would be character development and getting sort of into the interiority of these people. And as far as I can tell, there's almost none of that. Like it doesn't even seem like Candy really changes much from before the murder when she's just a philanderer to after the murder when you would expect her to be super stressed, but there's just not that much of a change in her. So anyway, it's just kind of strange. Like I don't understand what the writing of that script, like who wrote it, like what they think they were exposing about these characters or showing about these characters. Cause it just seems like it's chess pieces moving around a board.
It's very literal. This happened and this happened and this happened. Kevin, do you think it is fair to critique this with Candy sort of as a benchmark for this.
Yeah, and I'm just going to answer Toby's question very briefly because I do want to come back to it. The writer of this is David E. Kelly.
Really?
The TV writer did Ally McBeal, The Practice, things like this. And Big Little Lies, actually. We always try very hard when on Crime Writers On not to compare the same story in different medium. Right, so we had Over My Dead Body, and then we had Tiger King, and then we had Joe versus Carol, and those are all three different types
Dr. Death and Dr. Death.
Dr. Death and Dr. Death, yeah, that's a little closer because when we look at the way that three different writers and directors and organizations present the story, it's hard, but we say okay, we're not going to do that. It's nearly impossible because you've got two dramatic miniseries, and especially when they come 11 months apart from one another, it's just nearly impossible to look at one and forget about the other in what they're doing in the same way. What are they mirroring? What's the casting like? We just already talked about the freaking hair. I mean, it's just it's all that. And I got to say that, Love and Death is inferior to Candy for a lot of reasons. And I agree with Toby also. The pace here is very slow and low energy, right? And just the way all this stuff is delivered. And was that volleyball game really sexy? I don't know. I don't think so.
That was also an element
the Jessica Biel one, yeah.
Yeah, that was also an element in Candy. So I think it is absolutely fair to compare the two. I really, really do. So Dr. Death, I believe, was on Peacock, which is it's like Hulu adjacent, right? Yeah, it was. It was on Peacock, and I think we ended up watching it on Hulu or whatever. And Dr. Death and Candy have some DNA in common, where they took they made it very stylized, both of them. They sort of took the basic story and elevated it with some time jump stuff, with some
nonlinear storytelling,
with some sequencing, some interiority, and you really got a sense. I remember watching Candy and really understanding the potential motivation of somebody that you really can't know. This, I think, story is making the case, as the lawyers did in Candy's case, of a very lost person who's living a life in which she initially feels sort of trapped and stultified, which is why she goes for this affair. And then when it ends and, sort of all this childhood trauma comes of snaps, right? The other version, Candy, really makes that case in a way that, sort of shows that interiority, in a very fraught way. And this just doesn't. It just doesn't show that. You never see Elizabeth Olsen suffering in any way. She's just making sandwiches and cookies
and staring off into space
and seemingly enjoying herself in her life most of the time, and then snaps. I mean, it's a very odd and non-complex linear way of telling the story, which I don't think works. Laura, what did you think of the chronological version of the story that we get here?
Yeah, I agree with what Kevin said. The pace, because it was told chronologically, was so freaking slow. I was oh my God, we're through 3 episodes before the murder happens. And I get that they want to, in this story, really set up how the affair played out and in this, quiet little town with the church people and everything. But there was really, because of the way it was told, nothing to really feel like this was being propelled forward for me. I mean, it was just oh, here we are in a hotel again. Oh, look, they're finally trying a different position. Oh, look, she's making him lunch again. It just didn't really give any sort of suspense or any sort of tension, and really kind of blended together. And I think what you were saying about comparing Candy, how she was in the version we saw last year on Hulu versus this one, I mean, we don't actually see her start to emit any sort of real emotion until the hypnosis scene.
I don't want him! Why are you doing this? Betty!
What is she doing now? Tell me, Candy.
You stop! You stop! Stop! Stop it! Stop! Stop!
And then she's back to being all buttoned up again. So like Toby said, 2 hours would have been fine. We could have built up this affair and, there maybe was a different way to tell it, but it was more like a Lifetime movie in this version.
Yeah, Laura, I actually think it wasn't until episode 4 out of 7 that we didn't get the murder. Except the only thing we got was in the very beginning. We see blood in the shower, And that's all the indication we have that this is where this is going. And by that, we don't get any mystery. That, you know, the way that you create tension in any story is you use mystery or surprise. And we don't even really get the sense that, like, this is something we should be thinking about. It's not mysterious. I mean, you absolutely know I'm going to eventually break into the business section.
Oh, so much suspense, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean,
I was feeling the suspense.
People want to know, when's that going to happen?
You
Is
just
it going to
snapped. You snapped.
It's like one of those things that Alfred Hitchcock would do. You see the time bomb stuck under the table and you're wondering when it's going to go off.
Chekhov's business section.
Chekhov's business section, exactly. So right now at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media.
Toby was very impressed with that metaphor. Chekhov's business
Was he?
section.
Very good.
Yes.
We get all sorts of great exclusive podcasts like the CWO After Show, Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and our Married With podcast, in which we dispense advice. Also want to let you know we have, you probably know by now, a new Patreon level where you can get ad-free episodes of Crime Writers on early. If you're listening to this on Thursday, you could have been listening on Wednesday because you just wanted to hear more about love and death so much faster. Also want to let you know that you can get great insight into what's happening in Crime Writers On World by signing up for our newsletter. Very simple. Go to crimewritersOn.com.
It's free.
It's free.
It's fun.
Just put in your email address. What you're going to get every week is you're going to get a little message from one of us. You're going to get a look at CWO BTS. What does BTS stand for, Rebecca?
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
It's also the name of our K-pop band.
It's our K-pop? I thought
Yes.
CWO was our CWO BTS.
Yes.
You should see Toby working on those dance moves.
Yes.
And Laura on auto-tune.
Yes.
So,
That's a very good auto-tune impression.
Thank you.
Do you believe in life after love?
So a lot of fun stuff. Also, you get to see a picture of Laura's cat of the week, or pet of the week, or snail of the week, or whatever it is. So it's really
which
fun.
will be featured in my next Leave It to Bricker, a real behind-the-scenes blow-by-blow of our last cat of the week.
Can't wait.
The mouse.
It's a cat and mouse game, apparently. And, you just say, like, if you get in at the Let's Do What We Do level, you get 15 exclusive podcasts a month. And while that's a great deal, especially compared to what other people on Patreon, not calling anybody out, but like what they're asking and what you get, it's a great value, but also it's really important to us because this is the money that sustains us.
Yes.
And allows the four of us to do what we do and not have to get a job at where was Pat working?
Oh, at their painting and wallpaper business?
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to go and do that. Oh, this
Cover
is pretty
girls.
much like Cover girls. Exactly. So it's really important for us that you help us out this way and sustain us, and we hopefully we show our appreciation by giving you great stuff.
All right. So, Kevin, before we wrap up the business section, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Paul Minotti and Karen Denmark. Bless you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Karen. Thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Thanks to everyone who doesn't and just listens to the business section anyway. We love you all. And Kevin, I'm going to wrap up that business section right now.
Yeah, why don't you do that? I want to go back to shitting on this miniseries.
Fade that music out.
At Staples Business Advantage, our team of experts can help you find the break room products to satisfy everyone's preferences, while AI can
Suggest popular items, monitor stock levels, optimize pricing, and automate reordering.
AI can do a lot of things.
But I can never know the taste of a truly great cup of coffee. Sigh.
But you also can't get hangry.
This is true.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations, plus our team's experience, to make stocking your team's break room easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
I want people to understand this ordeal. It's taken a toll on both of us.
Casey Anthony's parents respond after 15 years of allegations.
I've gotten blamed for something I didn't do, and it tears me up inside.
This can change our life. This is serious.
This is their final response.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Casey Anthony's parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
So, Toby, I do have a character in this miniseries that I love a lot. Don Crowder, Candy's lawyer, played by Tom Pelphrey. I think the performance is great. I also love his taxidermy and his tan. What do you think of Don Crowder as a character and his set pieces that surround him?
Yeah, well, the best thing about this entire miniseries is his desk, which is a glassed-in diorama of an armadillo and some other stuff. It's
quail.
Unbelievable. Like, I don't know if there's like an Emmy for, prop procurers or whatever, but whoever found that was a genius. Or maybe
somebody had to shoot them all.
Yeah. So, first of all, I was like, who is this guy? I feel like I know him, but it turns out it's Laura Linney's brother who gets sacrificed in the third season of Ozark, right?
Oh, that's right. Ben.
Yeah, no, he does a great job. Like I think, like you said, I think he might be the most interesting character in that he is sort of a narcissistic kind of blowhard who basically fesses up. It's like, I talk a good game in the church parking lot, but I do not try these kinds of cases.
Here's the thing about trials. They're fuckfests. Both sides trying to fuck each other over. It's not cat and mouse, it's not a chess game, and it's not civil. I'm not going to go gently on them, and full disclosure, I won't be treading lightly on you. If we're going to win this, I need to take over, and you need to do everything I tell you.
Okay.
The way he acts, like in the courtroom and with the press and stuff, just seems completely unhinged in a lot of ways. And that, quite honestly, is the interesting part of this whole thing, I guess, is that she puts her trust in this guy who doesn't have the relevant experience. And instead of being kind of, cautious or approaching it with trepidation, he's like, fuck it, just guns blaring, like insulting people, talking to the press, all this stuff, thinking you have to go on the offense to provide a good defense.
On venue, Mr. Crowder, I've seen your papers and I am not impressed.
Actually, Judge, those papers are meant to be read. If you look closely, you'll see words on them, arranged in a particular order even.
Yeah, so I thought he was good. There's a very funny scene of him tanning by the pool. And
oh, yeah.
He's got quite a tan. I'll give him that. It's not a great comment on your show when the most compelling character is a person who is just a very, very, very bit person up until like the 5th episode. And then they kind of come through a little bit more. But that's after 4 episodes of boringness. And I guess that's part of it, is that the main characters are basically their lives. I mean, it seems as though they have an affair because they're bored and because they have sort of
they're bored.
Their lives with their spouses are kind of dissatisfying to them. But people have wrung good stories out of that stuff. People have wrung suspense out of that stuff. There's nothing like Candy doesn't seem to feel any guilt about it or any trepidation. And that's fine. That might be real, but you could at least play that as being like a little bit deviant or like there's something weird about that, like play up that part. But instead it's just kind of like, well, this is one of the things I do in the afternoon. Then I go home and make dinner for my family. And then, we take my lover's kid to go and see Star Wars. And it's just so weird. It's just all sort of played without any kind of suspense or any kind of anything. It's just like this happened and then this happened and this happened and this happened. And then suddenly Candy murders Jesse Plemons' wife.
Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking of the wife of Betty, I think the Melanie Lynskey version of Betty, I felt more of a window into her angst and her life. I felt more sympathy for her. This version, I definitely felt like more of the focus was on Candy, and I didn't really feel as connected with that character of Betty, so that when she died, I was like, well, she's dead.
Both portrayals made Betty unlikable, which everyone said she was. But I think
didn't say that to the end. That was the thing. The Melanie Linsky performance, I was like, she's so good. Why is she such a sad sack? I don't get this. The one thing that Love and Death did, which was better, is eventually Crowder says a lot of people didn't like her, and it's like clicks in like, oh, that's why she's written this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say, Toby, I'm so glad you had that. We have the same note about Crowder because he is the only character that comes alive, right, in this whole thing. And I guess it really shouldn't be a surprise because, like I said, the writer is David E. Kelley, who put together The Practice and Ally McBeal, and he's clearly most comfortable writing lawyer characters and
picket fences.
And what if instead of the way they did this, it was framed as a legal drama with Crowder as the lead character, and he has this client who comes in, and it's Candy, and that's the way they tell the whole story. It would be different, and it might even have a chance of being really good. But I feel like David E. Kelley, like he really missed an opportunity here to write for the better characters. I think he just needs to do a lot of cocaine again, like he did doing TV, and maybe it'll be a lot better.
Really?
That's a great idea. That's a
really
good idea. I'm thinking of Aaron Sorkin. I don't know. Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Aaron Sorkin.
Have some more cocaine.
Yeah.
You stinker.
Yes.
The cocaine bear.
Yes. Although Laura, you like me do like the set pieces in this because like you made a note too about the fried chicken lunches in the motel rooms. Like, yeah, like the details in the show. I will like very much compliment the details in the show, the wardrobe, the set design, the down to the dishes. It feels very real without feeling too costumey to me. Like what did you think about those details?
Yeah, no, I liked as coming as like a period piece from this time. I felt like, like you said, the kitchen was right on that like wood paneling. And then when she finally paints it, her friend that's at the hairdresser, like, I mean, that also rang very true. I loved the hotel room itself because it was just so vintage looking and how she went out of her way to set up these little tablecloth on the table with the bottle of wine in the middle, and she'd put out the, and they'd have it was like very, again, at that point, very planned out. And I also, probably one of the more lively parts of this entire show for me were the scenes with Candy in the car where she's like singing along to the music. They had a good soundtrack. And she's driving and singing, except after she, whacks Betty, and then she has to turn off the music. She can't listen to was it like My Sharona or something?
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Well, I think those are supposed to be, I will tell you what my interpretation, those are supposed to be her cracks showing, her singing in the car, because she's very manic in the car. Like she does the singing in a very intense way. We also see it when she's disco dancing, which, by the way, that scene was also in Candy, the disco dancing scene, because they did go out dancing apparently. There's supposed to be like her letting go like a little bit. So we're supposed to see like her chinks, I think, coming loose in those singing scenes, because you notice like the specific intensity with which she sings along. It's like
change your mind.
You could dance. Yeah. So Kevin, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say the same thing. I didn't think that part worked. I just felt like they were checking off a box here. Like, let's make sure everybody knows it's the late 70s and early 80s, and let's put in all the great AM radio hits and have her listening to them. And then they got to go out disco dancing to make it seem like it was, they're just waiting for Star Wars to come out and shit like that. I just thought it was too on the nose. It felt really performative.
Huh. Let's talk about the hypnosis scene, because I suppose it must have happened, right?
I
don't know. I didn't. That's something I didn't look up. But I mean,
David E. Kelley wrote it,
we all remember the outcome of this trial, right? We all remember that she was acquitted, right? Just spoiler alert.
Apparently, because I Googled, when I was Googling what people look like in real life, she's a therapist now.
Yeah, she's like a mental health person.
Physician, heal thyself.
Yeah, so we all, that's not a spoiler as far as I'm concerned. No. It's real life.
We're in the spoiler part.
Yeah, so we all know she was acquitted, so we all know that Tom Crowder ultimately is the right lawyer or whatever. So I'm because the show is sticking to so many beats, I have not actually Googled this part. I'm assuming that the hypnosis thing was based on a real thing. I can look it up after. But what do we think of the scene as it happened? Let's just judge it based on the merits in the show.
It's fucking stupid.
Amen to that, Toby.
No, I mean it's like stupid on so many levels. It's stupid just the way it's done, where it's like, this is the reveal, right? In some ways, it's like the emotional reveal, even though she did it. It's like, okay, now you kind of get like why. But again, they don't know it at the time. but we know it now, and that should probably have something to do with it, which is that doing this regression hypnosis stuff is bullshit. So if it's going to end up being played like they did this completely bullshit thing and this sort of informed the way they went forward, and isn't that ironic that it worked out or whatever? Like maybe that's something, but that's not the way it seemed like when they were doing it. I mean, it made it look like, okay, this is legit. Look, we're sticking her with a pin and she's not even reacting to it. Like the whole thing is like, is she faking? No, I can jab her with a pin and she doesn't react. It's like, well,
and now she's cold.
I'm not even
goosebumps.
Like what's going on here? What is this proving? The whole thing was just dumb.
Laura, you didn't like the hypnosis scene either?
No, it was just, for me, I was like, oh, finally some action, because the rest of this was so slow. But it was just, I think it was just so over the top. It didn't come across as at all realistic. You know, and to go with hypnosis and lie detectors. And, you know, we also see lie detectors being used in this, which we know now are totally not credible or reliable. But, you know, we saw, I believe, her and Alan both taking a lie detector test, which, again, was a little
with
insane.
No payoff, because we never hear what the results are.
Yeah, they're just like, where are you doing this? Where are you? And she's like, no.
I refuse to answer that question.
I'm not going to answer any questions about the washroom. And it's like, oh, all
is that a thing you can do?
You never hear about it again. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
You're like, okay, that was just like a blip on the scene there. But, you know, so it goes. And I feel a little bit like, I do feel like Candy's husband in this one, honestly, he's a little more appealing than Alan.
Patrick Fugit. Mr. Almost Famous.
Yeah, I liked him better than Alan.
I didn't like him at the beginning. I was like, oh, fucking Pat is like ignoring his wife, who's literally just like wants to like hold his hand on the couch. But he grew on me. Kevin, what do you think about Pat? Pat.
I thought he was. I liked the actor. I thought he was okay. At least he didn't spend the whole time like making dopey face and just like
staring into space.
Oh, we want to have sex?
Jesse Plemons is very underutilized in this movie.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. Both Jesse Plemons and Kristen Ritter, who plays the other friend, they are really two of their generation's like best character actors. And the only brave thing about their performances is their hair. So... yeah, and of course, I mean, Elizabeth Olsen, right? I mean, I thought she was transcendent in WandaVision. She was a great, we thought it was a great casting pick, but all these characters are just, the performances are flat. The writing for them is flat. They can't, sometimes you can rescue bad material, but it didn't happen here. It was really surprising for prestige television, and I'm using air quotes.
I'm thinking, I would listen to an episode of Married with Podcast if the two of you went to the whatever that retreat was called. Marriage Encounter and did some journaling. Like I would be there for the Patreon level to listen to Kevin and Rebecca go to Marriage Encounter.
There are 10 and 10.
Oh my God, the Marriage Encounter. I am so completely obsessed with his 1970s like marriage self-help things like Est and Marriage Encounter.
And Tupperware.
And I fucking loved it when the one scene I loved in this was when Candy comes home and says to Pat, I want to do Marriage Encounter, and he goes, that's a cult.
But the lobby of that hotel was amazing.
Great set design.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the set design on this show is the star of this fucking show.
They're like, where do we find wood paneling?
Her little K Jewelers heart necklace. The set design on this show is the fucking star. The new sanctuary of the church, which is like apex 70s architectural design. It is the star of this damn show.
At Staples Business Advantage, our team of experts can help you find the break room products to satisfy everyone's preferences, while AI can
suggest popular items, monitor stock levels, optimize pricing, and automate reordering.
AI can do a lot of things.
But I can never know the taste of a truly great cup of coffee. Sigh.
But you also can't get hangry.
This is true.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations, plus our team's experience, to make stocking your team's break room easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.
I want people to understand this ordeal. It's taken a toll on both of us.
Casey Anthony's parents respond after 15 years of allegations.
I've gotten blamed for something I didn't do, and it tears me up inside.
This can change our life. This is serious.
This is their final response.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Casey Anthony's parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the Max Quote original, Love and Death? Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Love and Death?
I'm going thumbs down. I guess I have a lot of questions about this. I mean, first of all, why did we need a second docudrama about this case less than a year after the last one came out? I mean, is there really that much interest? Are there no other cases that we can focus on? I think the pacing for me in this was really slow. It was kind of boring. You know, it was just because it was just slow and drawn out. And we had some really great actors, actresses in the roles in this, but I don't feel like that was enough to get over the pacing with this and just kind of the overall lack of suspense. I did like the costuming from the 70s, but aside from that, I'm going thumbs down.
Toby Ball.
Yeah, I'm a thumbs down too. I mean, it was boring. It was super slow. You know, the script, it kind of reads like a Wikipedia entry in some ways. I mean, it's just, there's not, like, the things that you want to see from prestige television or just actually any television or movie with like a little bit of insight or characterization or suspense or any of these normal things that you expect to see. Like, they're just missing, you know? I mean, there's just none of it there. So instead, you're kind of watching these situations play out without any kind of investment in what's going on. There's no attempt, as far as I can tell, to create suspense about anything. There's no character who seems complex enough to have more than one side to their personality, except for maybe the lawyer who represents Candy. That hits at like episode 5. It doesn't do it any favors that Candy came out first. I kind of get that both these projects were probably underway. And then it was like, do we just scrap it because the other one's going or what? I think if we'd watched it a little bit in the other direction, it would have been like, oh, okay, we didn't know much about this. So finding out what the facts were, I guess that was all right. And then Candy comes and it's sort of stylized and has a lot more going on. You'd be like, oh, well, that was a much better take. Going in this direction, it's just a brutal watch. I mean, it was one of those things. It's like, oh man, how many more do we have to get through until we're done? So that all adds up to a big thumbs down.
Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, I'm going thumbs down too. It might not be fair to review. I mean, to review this on its own, there are so many deficiencies, but it's even more apparent because it is so inferior to Candy. Why press on when one network has already announced in the trades that they're doing a dramatic miniseries about a crime from 40 years ago, no less. And maybe it was Hulu who had the audacity to say, well, screw HBO, we're going to go ahead and do something. And that little engine that they not only did they beat HBO to the screen, they just beat them with a better story. It is dull. It is flat. There is no energy to it. Some great actors are really wasted. And you stinker, David E. Kelly, for not really putting together something that was more exciting. It just failed on virtually every level. Although maybe the Spotify playlist will be a little more. You want to know how uninspired it is? The title.
Yeah.
Love and Death. Fantastic. That could be anything, you know? So that's about as much thought I think they put into pre-planning this.
Yeah, thumbs down for me too. The only thing I could think about of why they continued with this production after Candy came out and didn't scrap it was because, yes, it was underway, but also maybe they counted on like a lack of crossover between subscribers, between the two services. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a possibility because all I could think about the whole time was that after the Elizabeth Holmes series came out starring Amanda Seyfried, They scrapped a film or a project about Elizabeth Holmes that was going to star Jennifer Lawrence. They scrapped it.
Oh, yeah.
Or it was a Kate McKinnon thing, and then Jennifer Lawrence was attached. It was a very high-profile Elizabeth Holmes project was scrapped when the Amanda Seyfried project came out. Because Amanda Seyfried project was like, I mean, the scuttlebutt was because it was like so fucking good that it was just like we just can't make it now. I mean, it may have been scrapped for other reasons, but that was the scuttlebutt that I read. And Candy, like if our listeners, if you haven't watched it, find it, watch it. Jessica Biel is a great actor anyway, a very underrated actor in my opinion, who hasn't worked enough, but like it is so fucking good and you should watch it and you should not watch this. Except, I mean, and I feel bad because I love Tom Pelphrey. He's like now ascending to be one of my favorite actors. He was wonderful in Ozark. He's wonderful in this. I really, really love Jesse Plemons, who was wonderful in Breaking Bad. Wonderful in this. Sometimes he plays scary. He plays nice. He's just very, very strong in everything he's in. And I love Elizabeth Olsen. I love looking at Elizabeth Olsen's face in everything she does. And her face became boring in this. And that is almost impossible to achieve. So yeah, big thumbs down for me for Love and Death.
Hey, you guys want to know my pitch for a new movie? It's about Watergate and it's called Bob and Carl.
Okay, do you guys want to hear a fun fact about this too that we can also talk about, leave-in?
Sure.
So the actress who plays Betty, Lily Robb, was like 6 or 7 months pregnant when they filmed this, and they CGI'd out her belly for a lot of the scenes, including the axe murdering scene.
Really?
And Elizabeth Olsen did not want to come at her with the prop axe when she was pregnant, so they put like a body double in for Elizabeth Olsen for those scenes. Fun fact.
Wait, they put a body double in for Elizabeth Olsen, so they had a body double attack her rather than put a body double in for the pregnant woman who had to CGI out her stomach? They
CGI'd out her belly for all of her scenes while she was pregnant, and then Elizabeth Olsen was like, I'm not going to fight with a pregnant woman. That's what I read. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week this week?
We do. So in response to, I posted some social media on Mother's Day, Rocky Flintstone got a little walkabout the neighborhood on his harness because he'd been howling at the door. I got to see how some other people were taking their cats out that day, and including one of our New Hampshire photographers, Allegra, who took her cat Frowny out for a stroller ride in a nice yellow stroller. So here's to all the crazy cat moms out there who did things with their cats on Mother's Day.
Nice. Have you seen those Lucite suitcases for cats that you can put them in and pull them around in?
I just love anything where pets are out in unique ways. So there's an elderly man in my neighborhood who rides he has this cute little fluffy little dog and you see him walking, but now he's riding his bicycle around the neighborhood and he has a backpack, like a real backpack on, and the dog just sits in the backpack and rides around the whole neighborhood. They make
backpacks for dogs. It's very, very
But he's
sweet.
not totally he's just sitting up in the backpack. It's there's nothing over the top of him.
Nice.
It's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you on social media and show off how they get around town with their pets, how can they find you there?
They can find me at Laura Bricker.
And of course, you can submit any kind of animal to be pet of the week at crimewriterson@gmail.com or go to our Facebook group. Toby Ball, folks want to find you on social media. How can they find you there?
At Toby Ball NH.
Kevin Flynn, how can you be found?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
If you want to find me just about everywhere, you can do that at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show at Crime Writers on Twitter or Instagram. And I encourage you to join our incredible Facebook group. Search for Crime Writers On. We've got a page, but we've also got a group. Join that group. Get episodes of this podcast early and ad-free at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. You'll also get the Crime Writers On After Show, Married with Podcast, Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast, and Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcasts. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. Our line editor is the very, very wonderful Livy Burdett. The executive producer of this program is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in the Treehouse Yoga Studio above the Mockingbird Cafe in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, otherwise known as Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also unwind by going to the disco. Love to love you, baby. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
I always use my iPhone, the stopwatch on it, to be timing how long we're going, and I forgot it, so I used Rebecca's, and the alerts that keep coming through almost non-stop It's just like Slack message, Slack message, Slack message,
Oh my
text
God.
message, weather alert, Slack message, Slack message. I mean, for somebody with ADHD, this is probably fatal.
Partners in Crime Media.
At Staples Business Advantage, nothing can top the smarts and instincts of the thousands of experts on our team. While AI excels at
processing data, automating tasks, and providing insights for better decision-making.
And when they're used together,
They are far more powerful than either is alone.
Whoa.
I've never felt more alive.
Let Staples Business Advantage use today's latest innovations, plus our team's experience, to make business easier for you.
Sign up today and save 20%.
Staples Business Advantage.
Business is
human.